But we begin tonight with new information about the suspect in Joleen Cummings' disappearance. This as investigators continue to search this landfill in southeast Georgia looking for evidence.
So right now they're looking for clues that may help them solve the mystery of what happened to the missing Nassau County mother. She vanished from Yulee right before Mother's Day. First Coast News' Nick Perot was at the landfill today. He joins us live now with more on what we're learning about that search and the only suspect named in the case. Nick?
Anthony, this still remains the focus. A plastic shopping bag. Authorities say Kimberly Kessler was last seen throwing a bag and a small trash can into a dumpster that they believe is in this landfill and say progress is being made.
This is not a place I ever thought that we could find evidence or even fear that my daughter could be.
3 days of 12-hour shifts in the heat.
We're going through that layer by layer, trying to find something that can give us some clues on the disappearance of Joleen Cummings.
So far, crews have narrowed the search down from the original pile of debris that was about the size of a football field.
I do think that we are in the right vicinity of where we need to be.
A can about so high, about like that. Just dump the contents into the.
The focus still remains on finding a white plastic shopping bag and a small trash can that authorities say Kimberly Kessler was seen on surveillance video throwing into a dumpster that they believe is in this landfill.
That's our only suspect, is Kimberly Kessler.
So far, Sheriff Leeper says Kessler's continuing to stay quiet. But we are learning more about the sole suspect's past. First Coast News digital reporter Destiny Johnson did get in touch with Tim Edwards, who dated and had a child with Kessler in 1998, who he knew as Melissa McKernen. Edwards did not want to go on camera, but when asked if Kessler was known to be a violent person, he said she had a temper. Edwards said after her son was taken away from her in 1999, she went into social services with a handgun and tried unsuccessfully to get him back. That's the last time he talked to her. Kessler, he said, was arrested, then skipped town after that. Edwards was eventually awarded custody, and the son is now a healthy 20-year-old. He now hopes Joleen's family will soon get the answers they've been searching for.
We all miss Joleen so much, and we need closure.
Now, First Coast News has requested a police report from the incident where Edwards says Kessler showed up to social services with a handgun from a policing entity. Now, due to the age of the report, it's unclear if it will be supplied. Search crews will be back out in the morning continuing to scan the landfill for evidence. Heather, Tim?